So how did you go from that to mortgages?
By mistake, actually. I was interning at UBS Financial downtown, and the team that I was a part of, said they wanted to hire me. I was there for about a year and a half when I graduated college, and they said, we want to hire you, but you need to meet with the corporate office. And they said, hey, you need 2 years of sales experience before we let you come on here and be an advisor. So I went to the career fair at UT, and coming from up north, you go to anything professional, you wear a suit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in a 3-piece suit going to this. I'm the only kid in a suit at the career fair, and the only guy in a suit was your typical idea of a mortgage guy. Just this, I don't want to use the term sleazy, but just used car salesman, just slick back hair. And he's like, hey, you want to do mortgages? And I was like, is that sales? And he's like, yeah. I said, all right, yeah, I need sales for 2 years. Let's do it. And that
literally
was it.
Picked you out of a crowd and thought, that's my guy.
That's my guy. Maybe that wasn't the best compliment because I looked like him, I suppose. But that was the beginning of my career, and it ended up just growing. I got licensed there. So that was in 2013. And you know how we go through cycles of refis to purchases. They were a very heavy refi shop. I got licensed after a couple months. And by my 6th month, they laid me off because they were a refi shop and it went to purchases. My severance check, I think, was $1,500. And I think I went to Soho with that, as a kid. And I went for another interview so I'm freshly licensed. I went for another interview. I think it was Northwestern, and they had, for one office, they wanted to hire one person. So they said, went through all these rounds of interviews. I got the position. Spoke to my mom, who, Fortune 100 exec, worked on Wall Street. I always go to her for advice. And I said, hey, I'm going to go do this. She's like, you're going to have to get licensed again. You already have your license. Why don't you give this a shot? It was the best advice she'd ever given me. So I joined a company in Orlando. I got sold, how people say, oh yeah, you'll start making money in first month. And I think I made $8,000 my first year. So they had an office in Orlando. I lived on Harbor Island at Parkcrest. So I was fortunate. My parents, put a roof over my head and took care of me. So I didn't have to worry about making ends meet with my bills. And I remember the first deal that I got. Called this guy up who told me I'll start making money in my first month. This is like 6 months later. No training, no nothing. I'm like, hey man, I got my first deal. What do I do? He's like, all right, get a pen. And I remembered I'm standing at the counter. I just drank some water. It's like, all right, I'm ready. He's like, all right, write this down. W-2, 1099, 2 years of tax returns, 60 days of bank statements. And I'm like, what the fuck do I even do with those? What are those? He's like, you'll figure it out. I got to take this call. See you later. That was my training.
Oh my God.
So for the first 2 years of my career, I had to teach myself everything.
Wow.
Everything. And then I ended up joining a company 2 years later, and they had a very good presence. I had already had my training, School of Hard Knocks, and then it just jet propelled for me.
Wow.
I was put into real estate offices. I built relationships, a lot of the great relationships I have today. My business is all referral, and I'm grateful for it because the people I work with, they're just awesome. And it just took off.
And then Goodwin Mortgage Group, is that its own company, or kind of how is that all set up and how did that come about?
It's a subsidiary of a parent company. So when I was at a previous company, it was a big company, and I would go on meetings and say, I went to meet with you. And you're like, hey, Josh, I really like you, but I had a bad experience with someone from your company. So I was like, okay, well, you're at Keller Williams, and I don't judge you, and I know there's a bunch of people that don't do deals correctly there, right? Or Coldwell or wherever. And, it got to the point in my career where my immediate staff was giving great service. It would go to the corporate side, and it would get dropped, and I had no control. So I wanted to create something that I could control the process. I could have say with the underwriters. I could have direct lines of communication. And my one deal with them was, no disrespect, I love the brand of your company, but I need to operate under my own umbrella, essentially have a company within a company, because I want to live and die by my own sword. If I make a mistake, I'll own it and I'll fix it. But I don't want to be held accountable for somebody else's mistakes that has nothing to do with how I do business. And then that's how it was formed. I wanted to go the route. I was 20, 2025, around starting my own company, Robert Palmer, RP Funding. I went and met with him. One of my buddies set up a meeting for me. I'm like, hey, I want to do this, right? And I thought I was big balling back then. I had a brand new G-Wagon. I pull up to his office, which looked like an arena. Lambo parked out front. I walk up there. He comes in flip-flops. He's one of the smartest guys I've ever met. And he's like, is that your G63 down there? I'm like, yeah. He's like, my wife has a G65. I'm like, oh, that's cool. But long story short, I asked him, like, hey, I want to start a mortgage company. He's like, I wouldn't do it today. He said, the regulation, everything is too much. And I listened. And I kind of wish I didn't. I was like, what's the next best thing that I can do? And it was this, so I don't have to control any of the legal, any of the back end. So, we're growing. Goodwin Mortgage Group is growing. We're bringing on loan officers. We're growing operations. But again, he's one of the smartest guys I've met with, super humble, funny, witty. But I wish I didn't listen to that piece. Because I usually don't listen to people. Did he get burned
in the recession and things were great, less regulations back then?
There was definitely less regulation. He just
perspective.
Said it was a bird's eye view. He's like, it's a more difficult business to get into now. Just the bonding and backing that you need. But
it sounds like you found a happy medium, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's no regrets on it, but how you always see in those movies, someone tells me, no, I'm going to work harder.
Yeah.
Who knows what could have been, but I know at that age, I wasn't anywhere fit to be able to do. If I wanted to do it now, I think I'd have more of a chance and a backing than before. But yeah, I'm extremely happy where we ended up, and we built something great here in Tampa for sure.
Yeah, you guys have an awesome reputation. And so what year was that when you first decided, okay, I'm going to start this kind of company within a company, my own arm?
December 2017.
I started my company the exact same date.
So I started
December 2017.
I remember the day that I went on board. It went from December 31st. January 1st hit, I'm in the office working. And the office at my time, because I didn't have an office yet, was at my house until we moved into our office. And I didn't know how to use any of the systems, anything. I mean, it's just like one of those stories where it's like truly difficult. And it was, I had just bought a house, burned all my money on the down payment, except for some. And I only had my future closings to help build it up. And, we've been through it.
If you enjoyed this clip, click here for the full episode and make sure to subscribe. Thank you guys for watching.